In this video, I am going to set up Google Workspace access for OpenClaw using the GOG CLI. By the end, OpenClaw will be able to work with Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Sheets, Forms, and other Google services from the command line. The first step is to create a dedicated Google Cloud project for OpenClaw. I recommend using a separate project for this integration so you can manage credentials, scopes, and environments more cleanly. Here I am creating the actual project. You can name it something obvious like OpenClaw. If your Google Workspace account belongs to an organization, you may also need to choose the correct parent resource. Once the project is ready, I go into APIs and services. This is where Google lets us enable the APIs that OpenClaw will use. From the API dashboard, I open the API library. This is the catalog where we enable products like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and Google Sheets. Now, I enable the APIs that OpenClaw actually needs. For a typical setup, that usually includes Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Sheets, People, and Tasks. Only enable the APIs you plan to use, because that keeps the integration smaller and easier to audit. After enabling the APIs, the next step is the OAuth consent screen. This is where Google defines how users will authorize this app and what identity information appears during login. Here, I set the app branding. This is the name and support email users will see during the authorization flow. For a private or internal OpenClaw setup, simple branding is usually enough. For most setups, the right choice is external. That means the app starts in testing mode and only approved test users can access it until you fully publish or verify the app. Google sometimes shows the newer Google Auth platform layout. The important thing is that we end up on the audience page, because that is where test users are managed. With the consent screen configured, I can now create the OAuth client that the GOG CLI will use. For GOG CLI, the correct client type is desktop app. That gives us the OAuth client JSON file that the CLI expects when we register credentials on the OpenClaw host. Once the client is created, I download the JSON file immediately. This file should never be committed into the repo. It needs to be stored securely on the machine where OpenClaw runs. After downloading the JSON file, put it on the OpenClaw host outside the Git repository. A good path is /opt/openclaw/secrets/google/workspace-oauth.json. You can either upload the file through Telegram and ask OpenClaw to save it there, or copy it over with SCP. Before going into the server, we should install the GOG skill. This will give more context for OpenClaw on how to use the GOG CLI. You can just ask OpenClaw to install it. On the server, install the GOG CLI using the package manager that fits your environment, or build it from source. After installation, confirm it works by running gog-version. Next, I register the downloaded OAuth client JSON with GOG. This tells the CLI which Google OAuth application it should use for future login flows. Because this is a server or remote shell, I use GOG CLI manual flow. The command prints an authorization URL. I open that URL in my browser, sign in with the Google account I want OpenClaw to use, approve the requested scopes, then copy the final redirect URL back into the terminal. Finally, I verify that the setup works. I set the default account, check the auth status, then run a few real commands against Gmail, Calendar, and Drive. If these commands succeed, OpenClaw is ready to use Google Workspace from the shell. That is the full setup. We created a Google Cloud project, enabled the required APIs, configured OAuth, downloaded the client JSON, registered it with GOG CLI, and authorized the Google account that OpenClaw will use. And now we should be able to check for things like my current list of labels in Gmail, as I am showing in the video.